they are playing baseball. That's his job. That's his occupation. Orioles are heading, or they're already in St. Louis, already headed there, but they play tonight, open up the series.
Yep.
And so we were planning on having him on last week, but hey, this is a perfect time. It's the right time to have him on. Orioles catcher James McCann, if we can bring him on the screen.
Hey.
James, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. How are y'all doing?
I'm good. Are you guys safely in St. Louis, obviously there? Are you at the stadium already?
I'm at the stadium. I'm sitting in the clubhouse manager's office talking to y'all.
Well, appreciate you taking the time. It's fancy.
Yeah.
Fancy. What time did you guys get in last night?
Not too bad. We actually got in town in time to have a little team dinner. We the whole team, whole squad showed up. A little steakhouse right across the way, so it was a good time.
Look at that team bonding after a series win, feeling good. One thing I wanted to start off asking you. First off, do we want to start off with Brad? Do we want to start with the veteran stuff here? Or do we want to wait on that? We can. So, James, I got to ask off the bat here. We're talking about vibes being immaculate, or the team. Just, it seems like one of the things I've really valued with what you brought. Also, by the way, this is how I wanted to lead it off. I don't know if you knew this, but every guy, it was Dean, Bauman, Bradish, whoever I've talked to, and Cedric, they're like, oh yeah, the one player you need to talk about or you need to know more about is McCann. Because McCann, that was the same thing. It wasn't the prospects, it was you. So everyone really values what you brought over. And I know it was different for you coming over from the Mets as far as you're changing roles. But how does it feel to, as far as adapt to what you've been asked to do, where you don't have to be the guy you were, at least with the Mets, if that makes sense? Like, you had to change your roles, but it didn't change who you were. Everyone says that the team's success, you are so vital to it for so many reasons. Can you just touch on, how you go about your business and also transitioning to an opportunity that is probably way different than it was to start your career?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, going all the way back to Little League, the number one, I just can't stand losing. Teams that were expected to win 100 games, and I've been on teams that are expected to lose 100 games, and it's a lot more fun showing up to the ballpark in September when the playoffs are on the line, a division title is on the line, than it is when you're trying not to lose 100 games. So I've always had the mindset of team first, and especially at my position, there's so many ways that I can impact a game and impact a winning game, more so than, say, a right fielder that maybe never gets a ball hit to him in a game, right? So that's one thing that I take a lot of pride in as a catcher, is managing a game, managing a pitching staff, leading a team to a win. And then, when I first got here, like you said, it was changing roles as far as, being the guy versus not being the guy. But as a veteran, as a team that was ready to win, it was very easy to step in and share my experience and help these guys, learn how to win every single day in the big leagues. And I have a group of guys that was assembled here that I kind of joined in on. I mean, it was, I don't want to say it was easy, but it's a group of professionals. And I've said it for a long time. The talent's off the charts. The talent's easy to see. Anyone that knows anything about baseball can see that. But what they don't know is how just the quality of human beings in this locker room.
Yeah.
And how each and every single one of these guys desire to not only be great for themselves and their families, but also, for their teammates. Guys truly love each other. Guys truly pull for each other. And so when you have a group of guys like that, it makes it easy to kind of be that veteran guy that can, step in and help lead the team to that next level.
Yeah, and the thing too is, honestly, I feel like you could be the guy still on a lot of teams, right? Like, that's the part where when I tell people, I think it's a luxury. I think the Orioles have two of the best catchers out there. Personally, it just happens to be that you have Adley and yourself on the same roster, and that benefits who benefits the most is the pitching staff. One thing I got to know, because growing up, it was always you had to learn how to call a game, right? As the catcher, as it went going. Analytics now are more involved with the game, where you have more scouting reports. I know you got the wristband if you want, but can you talk about how the evolution for you calling games, how that's been? Because I think there has to be now back then, let me start with this. Back then, you were calling, dictating how the game was going, how the batter was seeing certain pitches. Has that changed your philosophy of how you call games now, or is that just an evolution of the whole thing?
Yeah, I'll start by saying I guess it was my rookie year, my first full season. Alex Avila pulled me aside and said, "Hey, it's going to take you 3 or 4 years to truly understand how to call a game at the big league level." And I remember thinking, like, man, I do all my homework. I prep like no one else. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. But after I got to that 3rd, 4th year in the big leagues, it kind of clicked, and I was like, man, he was right. It does take 3 or 4 seasons to really understand. And what he meant by that was you gain so much experience, you gain so much knowledge. And I had the same conversation with Adley, and I think he probably took it the same way that I took it as a rookie. Is like, no, I know what I'm doing. I work hard. I pay attention. I do my homework. But what it is it takes getting burned a few times. It takes, understanding why you made a mistake, or maybe you didn't make a mistake, but maybe there's a better option than what you did in setting up a guy or whatever it may be. And then you never get beat the same way. So it takes that 3 to 4 years of being in the league and being around the league, being around different hitters and having success against them or not having success against them. And then knowing how to manage your staff in a series against those players. But like I told Adley last year, I said, obviously I don't want our team to lose, but it's okay to get burned because you're never going to get burned like that again. And so for me personally, the evolution with the analytics, the information to me is just a little bit easier to get now. Mm-hmm. You're not ciphering through a million different numbers and a million different things. Now you get a heat map, you get different charts. It's a lot easier to game plan heading into a series than say it was 10 years ago.
That makes sense too, and I'm glad you brought it up. I was curious who was the one that kind of gave you that advice, because that's every player, even growing up. I mean, even on a different sense, my dad, family members talked about certain players that kind of showed them the ropes of like, hey, you're going to learn as you go, but there's still a grace period that you got to learn. So I thought that was great. Now, a little fun thing, actually, James. So we sat down with Mike Elias, I guess, what, guys, a couple months ago?
No,
not even. No, gosh.
It was in the middle of April.
Okay, yeah. So the season's just started. You guys are only 40 some games in, right? So, gosh, holy shirts and pants. Mike had an interesting conversation about you guys clinching last year. We wanted to play the clip, and I want to ask you on the other side. So, Brad, you got the clip?
Yeah. So the clip here basically talks about a fond memory that Mike had that involved you and a lot of the other veteran players, and in particular when it came to celebrating playoff berth. So wanted to kind of get your take on this. So take a listen.
And halfway because of you talking about the playoffs and popping bottles, but also you just bringing up McCann, Frazier, and Gibson. And the story is, this is one of my favorite memories, or at least it pops in my mind. We had the game against the Rays, where it was a potential clinch game. And we had not, I think we were probably like 2.5 back or something at the time. I don't remember, but we were going for the division, 1.5 back. I think it might've been pretty close.
Yeah.
And we weren't in a position to clinch division, but we were in a position to clinch like the 3rd wild card or whatever, but we hadn't made the playoffs yet. So it's kind of a big deal of coming out of a rebuild. So we had a meeting in Brandon's office before the game. Like, what are we going to do to celebrate? Are we going to do anything? Or are we going to do nothing?
Yeah.
Are we going to do something in between? We had a big meeting about it with McCann and Kyle Gibson. And we sort of landed on, because McCann had been with the Mets the year before, and they were going for their division. They won, they clinched the wild card. They skipped the celebration because that wasn't their real goal.
Right.
And then they ended up sort of collapsing the rest of the way, and they never celebrated.
Yeah.
He was like, that kind of stunk. I don't know if we want to do nothing, but you definitely don't want to act like you're spiking the football when you're haven't won the division yet, or at least that's what I was saying. Yeah. Brandon was kind of saying the same thing. So we didn't really know what to do. We landed on, if we won the game, we were just going to do kind of a subdued little toast and not a blowout celebration. And So that was how the meeting was wrapping up. Adam Frazier is walking by, wanders into Brandon's office, and he's like, "What's the plan?" And we told him, and I'll clean up the language a little bit, but
you don't have to, but you can do whatever you want.
He was like, "Forget that. We're celebrating if we clinch the playoffs." Anyway, I was like, "Okay, this guy seems like he knows what he's talking about, but we'll see what happens." As it turned out, he has an incredible historic base hit, the double down the line. It ended up being a wild walk off, with Mullins walking it off, and it was just and so it was a blowout celebration in there, and it was just really organic. And obviously, it was a huge moment for all of us that had done the whole rebuild and been a part of it.
Okay, so could you care to touch on that, James? What was there other words for Adam Frazier? Is that how you remembered it going, or?
It's pretty darn close. There definitely was some different language used.
I see that.
But no, Gibby and I were talking to Skip and Mike, and it was, we want to celebrate, but we still have, I think at that point there's 10 days left in the season, something like that. So the last thing, the way that Gibby's in my mind worked was the last thing we wanted to do was celebrate making the playoffs, have a 3-day hangover, and next thing you know, we're looking up at the Rays in the standings, and we miss out on the division title.
Right.
So we were kind of stuck on, celebrating, but trying to make sure that no one went too hard, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
And then Frazier walks in and is like, "Nah, forget that. Who cares? We're going for it. And if we go hard, then we're going to be grown men and show up tomorrow and play." And it's like, all right. And, I don't want to say that we were 100% on board to fully blow it out. I want to say that we were more on the fence about just kind of taking care. The guys in this clubhouse hadn't done it before. So we didn't want them to, like I said, we just didn't want that 4-game hangover that could potentially happen.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that the game went down, like Mike said, with the unbelievable at bat from Frazier and then the walk-off win, and it was against the Rays. It was like, nah, we're going for it. It just made sense.
The stars aligned. It really did.
Right.
Screw it, and then you guys continue to battle. There was no hangover there. There might have been a physical hangover for some players, but it didn't show necessarily on the field. Yeah, well, there's that. Adley has a great meme out there.
Well, that was
the next one.
We made sure we blew that one out.
And you should. I mean, you just talked about it. Winning's so damn hard, and I think that's the part that people forget. Of you put so much time and effort into everything, and you're going to go through the ups and downs of the season constantly, and you're going to struggle. And that's what people talk about, struggling all the time nowadays. Where I try to tell people, hey, it's a marathon. You can't look at what you've done after the first 40. You got to see what's going to be happening when you got the last 40. All you got to hope is that you're in the hunt. You said it's more fun to play when you're playing for something, but you got to ride out the bad times. You guys have earned that right. And do you mind if we ask you a couple fun questions? If that's okay.
Yeah.
We have our golfing extraordinaire, Rocco DeSangre. Rocco, come on in.
Oh my God.
Let him in. Sorry, James.
Right.
How do you swing it, James? You swing it pretty well?
My golf game begins and ends at Top Golf.
Perfect. Can you can pipe the ball, I'm assuming?
No,
drive it.
I can swing hard and the ball goes where it goes.
Love it. You know what? We're similar. Rocco right now is 145 shots through 7 holes. But Rocco, why don't you ask your question?
Yeah, James, I hope your night at the ball field goes better than mine is at the golf course right now. It's pretty terrible, but it is what it is. What I wanted to ask you, man, so I don't know how many active catchers have done this, but I mean, in baseball, I feel like to catch a no-hitter, that's an accomplishment in itself. You've been fortunate enough to catch 2 no-hitters in your career. One was a combined with the Mets, one obviously with the White Sox as well. Just kind of take me through that, man. Where does that rank among accomplishments in your career? And what was that feeling like to catch not 1, but 2 of them?
Yeah. No-hitters are obviously unique. They don't happen often. So for me, it definitely ranks up there. I know there's a big population of baseball fans that believe that the combined no-hitter is maybe doesn't count as much as the single pitcher no hitter. But for me, they're both special in their own way. The no hitter with Lucas Giolito was in Chicago during COVID, so there weren't fans in the stands. So the no hitter itself was unbelievable. We celebrated as a team. Obviously, Lucas and I have a connection because of that outing and that game. He and I have a special bond regardless of that game, but that game just kind of fortified that bond. But then the combined no hitter was in Citi Field with the Mets, and the fans are in the stands. It's just the chills that go through your body in the 7th, 8th inning when the fans are starting to realize what's happening and how loud they get with each pitch and each out. And sometimes I think that combined no hitter can be.
Come back.
There he is.
Okay.
You're back.
Sorry. So.
Almost back.
So good till the end. Guys,
damn it,
guys.
I thought it was my connection, and I was like, "Oh no, I let everybody down," because that's usually how I am.
James, you there?
James bailed me out, though.
Check.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
we can hear it. We appreciate it. And great portrait in the background. They've really done it well in the manager's clubhouse.
That's very
Beautiful taste. But continue with your story. I apologize.
Oh, you're good. So, when you with a combined no hitter, you don't necessarily know what's going to be working for that reliever coming out of the bullpen. So you're navigating, trying not to make a mistake with that guy coming out of the pen. Also, at the same time, as a hitter, I know sometimes when you're facing Johnny Holstaff, it's tough to get in a rhythm because you're seeing different guys. So I understand the debate about does a combined no hitter count as a true no hitter, but in my book it does. I've got the lineup cards and the home plates from both no hitters, and they're both special in their own way. But definitely some of my biggest career moments that I can remember.
Well, James, I know something you didn't get to keep from the Mets no hitter, and because if you search James McCann Mets no hitter, your game used pants were actually auctioned off to somebody for $260. How do you feel about that, man?
I had no idea that those were taken out of my locker, but
Oh gosh!
I was like looking, and I'm like, somebody really paid $260 for your pants. Like,
hey,
unbelievable.
Talking to collectors, I've seen some weird stuff. There's people that have mannequins, and they want to dress their mannequins with game used apparel.
Yeah, and they don't wash them either. They just let them be. So right out there, we got non-washed, game-used James McCann pants out there for the world to see. I think we actually two fun things. I know to get you ready for it, Zach. I think we need some catching analysis, James. So if you don't mind, Zach, do you have?
Oh God,
yeah.
Yeah. If you want to rate Kevin's catching stance, I think he might need a little help.
Yeah.
So what does he need to do better here, James? Like what's a good stance?
Well,
how'd you rate this?
It reminds me of my 6-year-olds trying to get down and catch. The first thing that sticks out to me is that throwing arm is in a really bad spot.
That's a good point.
You're looking for foul tips off the hand and the arm that aren't going to feel too good. The other thing would be you're going to have a tough time getting a low pitch with your backside hanging down so low. So you're going to need to get a little more, get a little more on your haunches, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Kevin, get the notepad out, please.
Yeah, let me type it out.
Good.
And the last thing I'll say is I don't know how good that glove's going to do when you got a guy bringing a little bit of velocity. So you might need a new glove.
Yeah, they had me doing a whole photo shoot, James. I'm a lefty, so I'll try to make lefty catchers. But I know there aren't a lot of them out there, but I'll do my best.
It's tough, but we need all the help we can get, and by all the help, I mean he needs all the help he can get. I guess. Well, now we got the member. Okay, so the hydration station thing, by the way, because this just got asked. Now I'm curious. I wanted to ask. I have one fun question to get you out of here, but with this makes sense. Were you looking for the hydration station on Amazon, or were you like, you know what? I have a vision, and this matches the vision of what I want. Besides that, whatever it may reference to. But yeah, go ahead, elaborate a little bit for the people.
Yeah. So I'll kind of go back to last year. Last year, the Homer hose and the sprinkler and turning on the water faucet, all that stuff kind of came about organically.
Yeah.
Via one of the acts in the talent show from spring training.
Mm-hmm.
The Homer hose was a little controversial at the beginning, I think, with some people because what it represents. I guess.
I thought it was great.
You just say it, James.
But in all honesty, the Homer hose last year was legitimately a hose and a funnel. It was not like it was a garden hose and a funnel that we taped up, and it, obviously it became a thing. Well, spring training this year rolls around, and we're kind of talking about, are we going to keep doing the same thing? And guys are kind of 50-50. The fans obviously loved it. It worked for us. It's kind of a fun thing. And guys were like, well, let's see what happens in the talent show this year. Let's see if something, organically comes about because of that. Well, nothing really did. And then, season starts and we never really finished that conversation. And guys are like, oh, let's just do something with a motorcycle. And I would say 90+% of the guys in the clubhouse viewed that as like a placeholder. And
Mm-hmm.
like, this isn't really it. We need to kind of figure it out. And it was that series in Boston where I stood up in the hitters meeting and I was like, guys, we were trying to fix something that's not broke. We need to go back to what works for us.
Yes.
And,
love it.
I said, but we're going to do something a little different. I've got something on the way that's going to show up when we get back home. So I think Tyler Wells had actually gone out and grabbed a new Homer hose for us to have while we were in Boston, while we were waiting for the arrival of the hydration station. And but yeah, it was in the training room one day. We were talking, and I was like, man, we need to do something where we can get multiple guys on the Homer hose. And we were just Googling on Amazon, and boom, there's the hydration station, and that's how it kind of popped up. And we're like, man, then now if there's someone on base when you hit a homer, they got to hit the hydration station. We got to stay hydrated. So that's how it came about.
I appreciate you're looking out for everyone's hydration. You got to round those bases. That takes up some energy. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's a
especially
great.
The heat and humidity of the summer. You got to make sure you get plenty of water.
You're just see, this is the veteran, the little things that people don't understand. Looking out for your teammates, right? What an apparatus! What a game! What a sport! Last thing, because we got to ask this, get you out of here. Controversial. Sorry, we're gonna ask it anyway. You ever had the crab mac and cheese dog from Stuggies?
No, I'm allergic to crab. So.
Okay, whoa, that's good to know. Noted. So do not eat that, please. We will not have you be the reason why you go on the IL because I told you to eat the crab. All right, are you allergic to hot dogs?
No.
Okay, well here we go. So right. you have an option here, James. All right, again, whatever you want to do, there's no judgment. But you got a hot dog. There's the condiments, right? So you can any condiment or plain. James, what's going on your dog?
I'm very simple. It's just ketchup.
That's him.
No, it's relish. It's Rocco.
No, it's Rocco's ketchup. Yeah.
That's the first win Rocco's had today because it certainly wasn't on the golf course.
It's definitely not on the golf course. He's smiling. We'll bring him on for a second. He's happy. See, James, you just made his day. Thank you for that. Hey, actually, I meant to say right before, and maybe did you just have an event? I think we were trying to have you on so you could talk about. Did you just have a previous event that just happened?
Me?
Yes. Did we miss that?
Last week?
Yes.
Kind of, but not really. My family and I were building a barn back home, and the builder had to have a last minute meeting with me about. It's actually going to be it's like my childhood dream. There's going to be a cage in there, and a basketball court, and so it's going to be my home rec barn where I disappear to for a lot of the hours of the day.
Hell yeah.
I love that. I love that for you, to be honest here. But you do so much good for everyone else. You need to have a little bit of James McCann time, if you know what I mean. So Well, James, I appreciate it. Thank you for letting us talk to you inside the lovely. You said it's the club manager's. Is that Hyde's office?
No, this is the clubhouse manager's office.
Oh, the clubhouse managers. Well, tell him thank you very much. We appreciate his time. But hey, good luck. Stay healthy, and we'll see you back here in Baltimore for the next homestand. All right.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for having me on. Y'all take care.
James McCann, everybody.
James.